Blog Talk Radio.
This thing right here is for my peoples in the streets.
Yes. Today,
Blog Talk Radio.
Rsg One Mic. Welcome to Rsg One Mic. We got another episode here in the books, and today in our main cipher, we're going to talk about the new NFL schedule, but we got a whole bunch of other things we want to cover before we get to the cipher. In the next about 15 minutes, we'll get into the cipher. But before I get into the mix, we got two in the booth with me. I used to have three in the booth, and we'll explain why. You know, it's Mother's Day, and some of us got different obligations. Some of us got to, and did some different things, and we got different ways we're engaging. But Hank is not with us today on Mother's Day. He let us know a little bit before the show, but we still got the other fellas here who are doing it. We all want to wish all the mothers out there happy Mother's Day, grandmothers. All the people who are, who have been responsible for raising all those young ones, along with in the partnership with whoever you're partnering with. But it's Mother's Day, and so we want to throw that love to you. Today, I was able to get some flowers. I hope they arrived to my mom today. You try to time it up. We don't know what's happening with COVID-19, but it is Mother's Day, and we want to make sure that we recognize all the mothers out there from RSG. But I want to bring my co-hosts into the mix because that's what makes the energy flow is having these guys in the booth with me. I'm going to start with my man. We affectionately call him the Hammer, but he's Carl Hampton from Chicago, Shy Village, is in the building. How you doing, Carl?
I'm doing well, safe and well, brother.
Yeah, looking good. I'm about to pick up what you got. Got the razor going. You was able. They're gonna say, "How is Carl looking so damn clean up in here?" Carl knew what to do. He from Chi-Town. He had to go make that mix up. He knows how to make it happen. And so he looking cleaner than the Board of Health over here. Everybody else looking like dead man walking. I like it. That's what makes Carl Carl. And then we got the man Darnell Kirkland Jr. As we said last week, we got to make sure we pay homage. To the elder Darnell Kirkland before we say this in the house. But we got Darnell Kirkland Jr. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. We got a chance to see your grandma today.
Yeah.
On Mother's Day, so it was a good day.
She be cooking up a storm. I'm thinking about the July 4th when all the cousins come around and eat up. I got to start. I used to miss those every once in a while all the time. So I can't now that this weather is making me think, wow, I wish we could get back together and if COVID-19 settles enough, we can convene and have some of that good cooking. So it's good to see you. But Darnell, why I got your attention? Last week I think a couple weeks we've been kind of putting together something that we want to work on over the next couple of weeks. We're thinking about doing an all-time kind of NBA draft, like your top five with your six man. You've been kind of working on us behind the scenes, trying to put together rules on how we might make this work. And so where you at right now with, kind of cooking up the rules for this before we go live with this in the RSG space?
So what I'm thinking about doing is having the RSG draft, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the greatest players of all time in basketball history. And we're going to make our starting five and the six men. But we're going to draft it like a snake draft. My idea is have the oldest go first, and I can go last. So I'm cool with that because I'm confident in my abilities. But it's a snake draft, so you're not in the same place every single time. So like the first group will go, and then since I'm the youngest, I'll get the last pick, and then the first pick in the next round, and then Hank will get the last pick of that round, and the first pick in the next round. That's pretty much how it goes. And then on top of that, I mean, it should be pretty straightforward, I think. But it's a fun thing to do. And the group, we have a Facebook group, the RSG Lounge, and we're going to put, our teams up and have a poll. And all you guys out there can decide whose team do you think is the best.
We'll get the discussion going. And, don't look for Magic Johnson on any one of Hammer's teams. So we all know we got a chance to get Magic. Because don't look for Magic on Hammer's team. Hammer is like the Bobby Knight of RSG. If you can't play defense in his mind, you ain't gonna get no top. He's like Bobby Knight cutting Charles Barkley. He's like, if you don't believe you can put energy on both ends of the court, you're going home. and I can respect that. We all gonna have our philosophy, and that's what's gonna be so great about it. Is you all. And the other thing that Darnell talked about is you can pick them at any position you want to. So you might want LeBron at power forward. You might want LeBron at point guard. You might want LeBron at two guard. You can structure it any way you think you might want to point forward. You might want Pippen at point guard. You can structure your team. You can put them in any position. You might want to put one of these centers at stretch four. Because they can knock it down. So it gives you freedom of it. And so I'm looking forward to that. So we got the youngin. He's in the lab trying to mix it up, and we're gonna bring it to all of y'all right now. Hey, last night we had UFC 249, and I don't think you guys had a chance to see it. A lot of it was. I had a chance at the last second. I said, let me go on and purchase this because we haven't seen live sports here on American soil for a long time. I've been watching the Korean Baseball Association a couple times. I watched the opening and solid with that, but it was good to see something. And Dana White had made a decision. He was forging ahead and in taking this on. Had received a number of criticism from people. He had received just admiration and support from others. They had one of their fighters was tested positive, but as Dana said, it showed that the system worked. It was somebody they suspected because I believe his wife might have was exposed and caused him to possibly be someone who would be affected and have COVID-19. And so, but the fight went on, and it was a tremendous night of mixed martial arts. And the thing about it, I had a chance to watch the one they did in Brazil, similar kind of scenario where they didn't have that many people in, and I enjoyed it. I think early on it was tough for people like Joe Rogan and them. They kept and Daniel Cormier kept alluding to how weird it was. Finally, I think they got that out of mind. Maybe somebody got in their ear and just said, "Stop worrying about that." And they started getting into the energy of it and the flow of it. And some great fights, were happening last night. But before I get into kind of what happened, I want to just go with you guys a little bit in terms of just a general thing. Somebody had to step out. One of the things I'm learning about in COVID-19 that you're seeing a clear demarcation between folks who lead and people who don't. It's like in every sector, they're finding who the leaders are. Governor Cuomo is in terms of the public service sector is emerging in terms of his leadership and being seen in terms of the ways he's responded as a leader. There's been other sectors of our market, whether it's business or whatever, in terms of what they've done and led in terms of their employees. Athletes have tried to demonstrate. It's really, you've seen people rise to the occasion. And there's been this push for, people really wanted to see sports, and Dana White stepped up. And so just, general observations of this, what happened. And even though I don't think y'all had a chance to really see the fight, but there's been a lot of talk, a lot of people reaction to it. Kind of what do you think about this in terms of Dana White's position? Where do you think we are in terms of sports and how it might inform the decisions of others who are leading commissioners in other areas of sports? I'll start with you, Hammer.
I think it shows that Dana White's visionary leadership, and especially his strategic decision to partner with someone like ESPN, allowed him the opportunity to pull this off. And you have to give credit to his resiliency as well. He had the situation where the fight in I think it was Tribal, California, was canceled, and he didn't let that set him back. He made sure that this event in Jacksonville had the proper protocols, and really wanted to set up for the public hope that the major sports can come online, as well as UFC. It also shows just how much the mainstreaming of UFC is really going to affect the sports universe. People like Stephen A. Smith were getting giddy, and also you look at some of the characters just personally that I know. Showtime Pettis is from the state of Wisconsin. Greg Hardy is a former Pro Bowl defensive end turned UFC fighter. their top guy, Tony Ferguson, was upset. So that brought drama to the occasion. So I think that, Dan White is put himself out there. He's leveraged his business relationships. He's been very cautious and strategic. And I think that he'll be able to show the roadmap to the other major sports such as football, which seems like it's going to go forward, and baseball and all the major sports that this can happen. You can do this without fans, and you can have a successful product that will energize and give people a sense of normalcy during these difficult times.
You're a combat sports person, and I know you probably dabble in UFC a little bit more than some of our other boxing folks who come in here. You cross over a little bit more than that, but and I know you're waiting to kind of see these fights down the road. But same thing, when you saw this happening, you and I talked a little bit about whether or not boxing, we felt like these kind of sports would probably be the first ones on. But what was your general reaction and what you were hearing from the streets?
Yeah, what I was pretty much going to say is, like you said, with combat sports like boxing and UFC, it's more feasible for them to come out first than in football, than basketball, football especially, because in football you have so many moving parts. You have a 53-man roster. You got all the coaching staff. Got all these people that are connected to these teams. And in UFC, if a fighter, he tests positive, like Jacare did, and he just couldn't perform, and the guy and his opponent, I think they just canceled his part of the event out. So, and the event was able to move on. But in football, you're gonna have to test everybody that he had came in contact to. The other 52 people. You got to test everybody else in the organization. I mean, it's much more difficult process. But the UFC showed boxing that this can be done. But in boxing, another difference between UFC and boxing is UFC is centralized. Dana White, he's in charge. He's the man with the plan. He's in charge of everything. He does have to deal with the state commissions that the event is going to be in. But in boxing, when you're the promoter, you got to deal with state commission. You got to deal with the sanction bodies as well. So if it's a WBC championship fight or something like that, Mauricio Sulaiman doesn't think it's a good idea, he can pull the sanctions out and it won't be for the championship. You know what I'm saying? So the fight wouldn't be able to go on. So that's another element to it. But I like seeing it. Well, I didn't watch the fight because, I just went to bed, to be honest with you. I'm on that old man schedule, you know what I'm saying? Wake up at 5, get up at 5, go to bed at 10, you know what I'm saying?
So we can't even call you youngin' no more.
I watched the highlights, though. Tony he was getting hit with some pretty hard shots, and Francis did what Francis does. Francis Ngannou, he's a monster.
I'm going to say this. Rosenstrike, you learn the lesson. Don't call out folks you don't know nothing about.
Yep.
Ngannou had to Google you. And you're gonna call him out. You're gonna talk all that junk, and you walk up in there, and I'm telling you, it wasn't a punch that knocked him out, but the ones I was scared about were the next two punches that looked like that he missed. That if he would have connected, might have killed him. And I'm like, we don't have enough personnel in this arena.
What that reminds you of? That reminds you of Wilder a little bit. Remember when Wilder was fighting Gerald Washington, and and the ref came in and moved him away, and he was just windmilling away. He was like, "Oh man."
I mean, the ref was trying to protect himself at all times. The referee was going there like he was trying to protect himself. But Daniel Cormier's look on his face when he was watching that was like somebody's life is about to be taken. The way he was looking at the punches, and that could be a future opponent for him if the Stipe fight doesn't
that's dangerous.
Happens with that.
The fight that all the fans been talking about is Francis Ngannou and John Jones. And you know what that reminds me of? Remember way back in the day, it's probably a little before my time, but remember when everybody was talking about what would happen if Roy and Mike Tyson fought?
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of that. But,
I don't know if you want none of his business. I mean,
yeah.
it's the kill.
Right.
And Tony Ferguson, from Muskegon, Michigan, he grew up in Michigan and, has been on a 12-fight streak and has had to wait for his opportunity for the title. He was first supposed to fight Khabib after the McGregor fight. He gets suspended because he jumped out of the ring, so they extended. He doesn't get a chance to do that. Then we have the COVID-19 coronavirus stuff happens, cancels the fight again. So this guy had been waiting, most dominant fighter in his weight class, and has been waiting, but has never had a chance to unify the belt.
Well, did you
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop it right here. Did you see what Khabib said on Twitter after the fight?
What, the no comment? Or
Yeah, he just said 2 words, no comment.
Yeah, I mean, because Justin Gaethje was just an absolute beast. I mean, I looked at him like, he ain't got nothing to do with Ferguson, and this guy, is a beast. I mean, he is just unbelievable. I mean, he was hitting this cat with punches, and I'm thinking, is he gonna go down? And Ferguson just has this heart that is unbelievable. Like he took
Antonio Margarito,
just like that, man. And it was like they had to stop the fight because it was almost like a mercy killing because he was gonna stay there. It almost felt like when Drago hit Creed.
Drago and Creed, yeah.
It was like he don't stop the fight. Like he said in the corner, don't stop the fight. Whatever. I mean, this guy was hitting.
Throw the towel. Throw the towel.
Throw the towel in. Throw the towel in. I mean, but he's such a warrior. He cut weight twice to try to make this fight. There's probably a whole bunch of things going into it. But I ain't gonna tell you anything about Justin. Justin's a beast. I'm gonna love to see that fight for the unifying belt. That's gonna be a bad.
You gotta show me you can beat Khabib. I ain't gonna pick nobody.
I'm not gonna believe it till you can beat him. I'm not going against him. I'm not doing that. I'm with you. That will not happen on my watch. After I watch what he did to McGregor, I'm just like, I'm not messing with him at all. And then you had Henry Cejudo, who won a gold medal, has dominated, beat a legend in Dominic Cruz. Dominic was kind of being salty at the end of that fight. Dominic, I've never heard this. You've been watching boxing. People complain about the refs. He said he smelled alcohol and cigarettes. I said, this is a new low. I mean, the level of salt and hate after you hit 11 straight times without a response. Like, he didn't even look like, and as you kept watching the replay, it was a good stoppage.
Mm-hmm.
It was just sore loser. But, this is where, like, not having a crowd, when you have a great fighter like, Triple C retire there, like, he should have been carried out of the arena with the crowd going down. But, he had to do it in all the right reasons. When you got to cut weight, this kid has been dominant ever since he started early in wrestling to transitioning over to UFC.
And Henry Cejudo, he's the guy, he beat a TJ Dillashaw who tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs.
Whooped him like he stole something.
Yeah.
And so but just is that power pack kind of guy. And so it was a great night. I was just reacting. The one thing I would have loved to have seen, I think, there's ways to do this arena stuff and bring fan stuff into it. So you remember, there's a lot of these movies. I forget the one movie where the fans going up, the noise. You could do something where you have this central site, kind of like they were doing for the NFL draft, where they had the fans kind of acting. But as the fans, like if you did like a Facebook Live, as the number of thumbs up goes up, the noise in the arena goes up. So the fighters know that the fans watching are enjoying it. There's some way to kind of make an interaction so the fighters know they can feel the fans. Something that where the noise, this fake noise goes up, they know the fans are enjoying it. Something that creates an interaction where the fighters know the fans really feeling them. I wish there was some kind of, and I'm thinking, Dana's the kind of person to figure something like that out, right? He's the kind of person to bring that kind of stuff in. But I think you could do something like that where you could create that kind of a connection between.
But in basketball, I want to pivot real quick, but in basketball, I think it would be very interesting to do it the other way. So in basketball, you just do it with no crowd noise, no extra noise. You would just hear you have a feature where you can hear everybody talking. You can hear all the trash talk. Somebody get dunked on, you can hear exactly what they said.
Well, I think this is where, Adam is seen to be progressive and everything else. This is where they're probably scared. This is where they don't hesitate, because that was the beauty of this UFC fight. You could hear all that stuff. People were talking to each other on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You could hear the people yelling. Hell, they were hearing Cormier say things, and fighters were reacting to what he was saying, because it was like the second coach out there. But fighters talking to each other. It feels like the NBA might be a little mad because, it's
reminiscent of remember when Floyd Mayweather fought that I think it was the Brucelas fight where he was talking to the commentator in the middle of the round. He was like, I got Eagles next week.
Yes. But I think you're right. If the NBA is okay with that, to be able to hear you get a little bit of that in the big three, the way that they set up, where people are talking a little bit back and forth, but I think that would be a great extra element to it. But that kind of creativity, figuring that piece out, I think would be great for these venues. But the fight game was great. I had a lot of fun with it. All right, that was open mic. We're going to go into the cipher. This is where kind of the heart of our discussion. And the NFL dropped the schedule, y'all. And one of the things they did with their schedule, they tried to schedule it where in week 2, all the teams, those same teams have the same bye week, so that they're able to move their schedule around in many different ways. Is the NFL looking like NFL is not – they're just putting the foot on the pedal. They're just, moving. They're, being innovative in terms of their thinking. When you saw the schedule, you saw how it was organized over. What's your overall kind of opinion on how the NFL is approaching kind of the potential season for next year? Darnell, I'll start with you and then go to Hank.
Well, you said Hank. Did you?
I'll go to Hank. Go to Hank. Hank is like that. Hank is like that spirit that's just. I'm looking like at his box. He's not there right now. I'm not gonna give you any more, Hank. You should.
Hank's gonna come. Hank's gonna come and surprise us, bro. Watch.
He probably is. He probably gonna surprise us.
But I like the way the NFL is moving. They're looking good in this time because, especially because they had time. The whole coronavirus epidemic happened in the middle of basketball season, in the middle of March. And football's in their off season, so they're able to kind of watch and plan. So now they're coming out with their plan. They had to plan for the NFL draft. They had to plan for the launch of the season. They even had the schedule released on ESPN.
Yep.
They're good at marketing. They're good at this kind of stuff. But I like the way it's going.
Yeah.
And hopefully the season goes on as planned. And yeah.
They're giving themselves a lot of cushion. They're giving away to kind of adjust, move back to Super Bowl. I mean, I love their approach. So they can, with how the conditions change, they can adjust the season to be able to do it. Hammer, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, it just shows why the NFL is really America's pastime and not baseball. They're just depth on their feet as far as dealing with certain situations. And you look at the matchups, and they know how to market their key players, Brady, and like you said, the way they flex the schedule, so they could definitely get if some COVID interventions happen where they have to stop it for a while, it's not going to grind to a halt. It's going to be able to pick that back up and keep continuity. So again, it shows why, even though Goodell's probably the most hated commissioner, he's the best commissioner as far as putting the product out to the fans. And, the NFL has become 365 days a year, 366 including the leap year, because there's intrigue every part of the season, from the off season to in season to everything else. And they've continued that with not postponing the draft and with not postponing the release of the schedule, and again showing hope and giving clues to the public of the protocols they're going to put in place to have an NFL season in the midst of a global pandemic. So
Now that asks another question. When was the last time that baseball was America's favorite pastime?
sadly, the steroid times, brother.
Steroid era?
Yeah, with Sammy and McGuire.
Yeah.
That's the only time I'd say, because the late '90s or so was there really wasn't a star in football. That was before the Brady era. The Minnesota Vikings squandered championship opportunity, and so I think the bottom line is that the last time Sally was when we had cheaters in the sport.
I wonder if they'll do like a little documentary on that to get people excited about baseball season.
Oh, there's a 30 for 30 coming out about the steroid that was leaked. Yeah, it's about McGuire, and it's 30 for 30. So it's not going to be a documentary. I think a documentary would be more profound, but I think obviously because of people getting authorization for the moments you had like in Last Dance, you're not going to have that regarding steroids. But the 30 for 30 at least will show, especially me being a Cub fan and me loving, Sammy Sosa. That was the only time I'd say when it eclipsed it. But since the steroid era, football has taken over, especially with the Patriots' domination of the sport.
Yeah, I would agree. That's probably the last time that was happening in terms of just baseball, being, really, I would say, supporting the idea that they are, kind of that America's pastime. After that, I think, it, and I think that erosion started with how they handled Pete Rose. I think all of that started to kind of erode baseball in a way that it felt like it was vindictive and petty. And people were holding on to things that were traditional things that other folks had let go a long time ago. I think, whereas, other sports have had their share of things to deal with, but their ability to pivot was much quicker than baseball. And baseball is just, you either in or you out on some of these things, and traditionalists have won. And I think that's part of it. But what's great about this is that, this offers a reframing of sports. And so baseball has an opportunity, I'm sitting there watching Korean Baseball Organization. I'm sitting there watching this in ways I would think I'd be watching baseball and come in, there's some things they could pull from that in the way in which, the entertainment value that they bring, allowing guys to flip bats is not a showing up of the pitcher. So there's a lot that can go into that. But we're in football season, and schedule's up, and we got matchups. And like every year, you're going to have the Super Bowl champs. And so, on Thursday, September 10th, the Texans go to the Chiefs, and they're going to unveil their banner for champs and all the rings, whatever the ceremony they got going on to kick the NFL season off will be, happening. And you got Deshaun Watson coming into the building. That's, Thursday night, if that's the way it holds, is going to be a great night. But there's some other matchups happening here that it probably can make folks salivate and get excited. I know they highlighted. Are there a couple of matchups as you look at the schedule and say, wow, I can't wait to watch those two teams play on that night? Hammer, which ones come to mind for you that you saw the schedule like, oh, this is going to be a good one?
Week 15, Chiefs Saints. And the reason why is that you have the old veteran in Drew Brees, probably in his last season after the news broke that, which is no surprise, that Monday Night Football clean house, and against again the person who's transformed the position, Pat Mahomes. So you have the intrigue of Andy Reid and Sean Payton, the fact that the Saints are going to get Emmanuel Sanders in the fold is really going to help their offense. And so I think, again, with the Chiefs being able to keep most of their core and bring back Chris Jones, hopefully, on a contract, they're able to do that because they're not they haven't been able to. They don't have to extend Mahomes yet. I think it's going to be an intriguing matchup because the Saints fans have gone through a heartache the last 3 years, and they know this is time. And Drew Brees, I think wants to go out like a champ. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's going to be an intriguing matchup, and so that's the one I'm really looking at. It's going to be a chess match between two of the best offensive innovators in the game, Andy Reid, who finally got the ring, and Sean Payton, who has the ring, but has had a lot of, like I said, heartache. So that's where I see it, brother, is being the key matchup.
So, Darnell, what you see any matchups you want? All right, let me go here, and I'll go right to you, Darnell, and I'll add one in and come back to some more from my side. This is more symbolic, but Monday night, September 21st, I believe that's week 2. You're gonna have this Saints at the Raiders. The Raiders will be playing in Allegiant Stadium, opening it up in Vegas. There's gonna be a lot of pomp and circumstance around that. The traditions that were built in Oakland and even some of it the few years in LA, but leaving the state of California, setting the roots up in the desert, beautiful stadium that they have coming in, and just what that's going to mean. Fans from if you know anything about how folks travel to Vegas, them fans from California still them Raider fans, unless they still bitter, will make that trip. It's not that far to get to Vegas. That you can take that quick flight or be there, but just you're gonna have the Saints in there again. Drew Brees coming into town. You're gonna have the second year of this experiment without AB killing you. They got some foundation of the team, but just the whole idea around the Raiders opening up in this new stadium that everybody's been waiting for in pro football in Vegas, I think is going to be an exciting night. Darnell, is there a game out there that you're looking for?
I'm looking no further than week 1. We got the Redskins and we got the Washington Redskins and the Eagles. And you're going to say, why am I saying this?
That's like pea soup and grits. I don't know what the matchup is, but explain it to me.
Why are we saying this, right? I just can't wait to watch the Washington Redskins' new defensive line eat and hunt. And you got Chase Young, you got Deron Payne, you got Jonathan Allen, you got Ryan Kerrigan, you got Montez Sweat. You got so many just horses on there. And then you got them going against Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey and the crew, and on the offensive line for the Eagles. So you're going to really see Chase Young tested in his first game to see how he does against real competition. This is a perennial Pro Bowl, all-pro left tackle. Tackle that he's going to go against in Lane Johnson. It's going to be one of those coaches. You got to be maybe this is not a game for the casual fan, but
for the cat, that's right.
But if you really love trench warfare, you're gonna love this.
That's I think that'll be good because the thing about it is if that's going to be a coming out party for how the philosophy for Washington's changing, and the way people I've been thinking about the Eagles and everything happening there that, Washington can put together a good performance. That's one of them early things because, there's always about a third of the league that flips, that didn't make the playoffs, that is turning something around. It's usually teams you haven't even thought about.
Right.
Some of that has to do with a change in coaches. The talent was there. They changed the philosophy and got them – the philosophy got them going in the right direction.
But I got a team that's on alert for that too. Watch out for Denver.
Yeah.
Because the way the NFL is going nowadays, you want mobile quarterbacks and you want playmaking wide receivers. The wide receiver game is going away from the Dez Bryants of the world. Their claim to fame is the contested catch. Nowadays, NFL wants receivers that you can get the ball in their hands and they can do something with it. And the Broncos are stacking up. They got Jerry Jeudy, and then they turned around and got KJ Hamler. So they got a whole bunch of firepower in Drew Lock's hands, and they're just saying we're gonna build around our young quarterback and see where he can take it.
And don't sleep on the Melvin Gordon acquisition is going to help that as well, along with Philip Lindsay. That's a great tandem. It's going to even allow for even more production for Judy and Amler. And Drew Lock coming to his own. They need to get rid of Garrett Bowles. That's the only thing. He needs to go. They need to send him home right now. But he's the worst tackle in football. But, besides that, I like I got love for Vic Fangio for obvious reasons, being a Bear fan. He finally got his chance, and I think he's doing it. And the defense is going to be tight. And like Young Buck says, Darnell, that offense is going to be really good. So,
Yeah, and I think those opportunities to it's going to also depend on how creative people are getting in the off season, and in terms of being able to get their teams ready and how they'll be able to do things virtually and all these little things. Can they get them through the mental models? There's gonna be a lot of some of these. You're gonna find out afterwards that some of these folks have some creative ways they got folks ready for the season, and we're gonna see some things evolve there. A couple of games I saw that were ones that Monday night, September 12th, we got the Chiefs at the Ravens. Again, Mahomes, Jackson, that's a Monday night game. I think that's an early kind of indication. Maybe that's a AFC championship type game that could be there. Both teams are loaded. I think that's going to have a lot of hype. And then the usual divisional rivalry game, October 25th, the Steelers at the Ravens. The Steelers defense, I think, was strong down the stretch. And I think some of the things they've done on offense to continue to just strengthen it. But I think I was saying this a couple years ago, you're going to see the team shifting back a little bit to the steel curtain, where the defense is playing much more of a significant role in their success. Looking much more Baltimore Raven-like, where Ravens built their stuff off how the Steelers used to do it. And I think that's going to be one of them good old-fashioned Ravens-Steelers slobber knockers, where folks is going to get banged around as much as you can do today. When you're looking at the schedule, are there some teams that you're saying, dang, early on, they're like, this schedule, these teams are going to struggle? Like this, who do you have?
I don't know about struggling. Well, they do have a new coach, but the Carolina Panthers have a murderer's row of teams. Looking at this schedule, they do have a reprieve with the Detroit Lions.
We can say that without Hank being here, but you probably would agree.
We can say it with Hank being here. He would agree with us. So, I mean, yeah.
Looking at their schedule, they got killers. They got the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to be good. They got the Chargers. They're going to be good. You got the Saints, of course, because they're in the division, of course. You got the Green Bay. You got the Saints again. Well, they're in the division, but they got a whole bunch of teams they're playing. They got good. They got a pretty good schedule. Well, it depends, but I see most of the teams that they play. I see a good future with them. So I see some in the way that the Panthers are building. They had an interesting draft. The Panthers, I think they said this. Every single pick they use is a defensive player.
Yeah. First time in the draft era.
So they know they needed to stop someone. It's going to be interesting because one of the things I'm looking at as a team, and I'm looking at it in terms of expectations, the ability for the coach to get what is best out those expectations, right? So the team, I've said this before, the Vikings have an offense that's a Maserati. You look at the pieces they have, the running back and everything they have, they can do. But they got a coach who likes to drive the speed limit. And it's going to be interesting problems because you got the Packers at the Vikings. Now, on the surface, maybe the Vikings squeak that out. But let's say they lose to the Packers. Then they got to go to the coach. And I think the coach at home and the coach that team going to be –
the coach are going to be tough.
That's going to be tough. So let's say they start 0-1 and then they go to the coach. They can lose that game. Let's say they lose that game. Now you whispering. Because this is a team that actually had the potential to be a 11, 12 team win. Could be. They got talent if the talent is played out. right? But then then the Titans come in. Now, the Titans have been road warriors. So now you're 0-2. The Titans coming in ready to bang. Like the Vikings, it's a sneaky, because I looked at it, there's a lot of teams, but you see that kind of scenario happen a lot where expectations, you got a coach that is not quite got the philosophical match for the talent. He's a good coach.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing in an era where he should be playing much more freer than that offense. And that offense should be much more dominant, but he is a defensive coach, and he's trying to position it for his defense. Y'all know what I'm talking about with him.
Yeah.
I disagree with you, though, bro.
But that sort of scenario could break a team because
could break a team.
He's not going to break a team because he wouldn't have hired Kubiak. He's going to turn over the store to Kubiak. He knows that this is the make or break for him this year. They had 12 picks in the draft.
You can't
trade
change the stripes.
Receiver.
Hammer, you can't change. Hammer, you say that hopefully. You kind of hopeful with that. You're a Bears fan, man.
I'm not hopeful at all. Kubiak.
I like Kubiak, but that's like what
Kubiak's had health problems in the past where he passed out.
That's why I said my man Harbaugh was going to hurry up.
He was not signed up to be the full-time OC after Stefanski left for the Browns. If he wasn't given the green light that go get it. And I disagree with you. You're going to see where they're going.
All right, I'm putting the season. But you can see where I'm going with it. You can see where I'm going with it.
Dalvin Cook in his contract.
Even with Kubiak in there, you could have Aaron Rodgers in there beat you.
You got Justin Jefferson. You got Justin Jefferson. You got Justin Jefferson, who has a chip on his shoulder, is going to ball out. You got Adam Thielen is going to come back.
If you throw the ball. I had Adam Thielen last year.
So,
I had Adam Thielen in fantasy.
He got like
one catch a game.
He will. He's hungry. And you got rid of that prima donna addition by subtraction. Stephon Diggs is going to blow up Buffalo. I worry about Buffalo most and foremost, even not looking at the schedule, because Stephon Diggs is going to want more.
I'm going to say this to you, Hammer. I'm going to cut. You sound like a politician. You don't sound like a Pew Bears fan. You be like, yeah, set them on fire. Set them on fire. And I know you're trying to be real with them, but you know your guy is nervous. And yeah, I love Kubiak, but dang.
Zimmer knows, again,
if they lose to the Packers, he's gonna get a little nervous.
If they lose, if they don't make a deep run, he's done.
Okay.
He's the type of guy.
You heard it here.
He's the type of guy like Vic Fangio, where he finally has gotten his opportunity, and he's not going to squander it.
All right.
That's why he fired.
I'm going to get you off that one. I'm going to get you off that one.
Who
else do you see? Hammer, I'm going to get you off that one. I'm going to have to mute you like that show on the other big channel. Who do you got? Who do you have as a
interruption or on around the horn? But
around the horn.
Again, I got a device to override that. So
you said you got a device.
I got a device to override that. I'll Zoom bomb that, so I'll get back in anyway. So yeah.
You said you're Zoom.
Trying to cut off. You trying to cut off.
If it's not the Vikings,
you're not hiring. I mean, you're not hiring.
If it's not the Vikings, who is it?
The Vikings, as far as
who do you see just looking at the schedule like, wow, they could have some trouble?
Buffalo Bills.
So you saying the Bills?
Yeah.
It's hard for me to believe in the Bills. And this is why I agree with you, Hammer. I'm not sold on the quarterback. And everybody biting the quarterback in, and I just don't see it. But
I'm sold on him. I'm not sold on him with Stephon Diggs.
Okay.
First time he does a bad read, Stephon Diggs is going to get in his face and is going to rile the kid. So, and this is a perfect example. You saw what they did to Minnesota last year. I was driving in Iowa, and I turned on the radio, and I heard the score, and I had to pull over. I was like, "What's happening here?" I thought something catastrophic had happened or something. But no, the Buffalo Bills again. I just don't. Stephon Diggs is gonna want more money. They got a young quarterback. They're on the hot seat as far as it goes. The draft was all right. So yeah, I just think that again, I worry about them as far as because they're on the margins. They're the type of team that they could have gone 6-10 last year, but for some good plays. So yeah. So and I like McDermott as a coach. I like his leadership, but I just don't like the Stephon Diggs, what they gave up, and how he clowned in Minnesota. You know, I think he's going to be a problem. I mean, he should get the chip off his shoulder now. He can ball. I mean, he went fifth round. Okay, that's over with. You got your money. You won the best in the league, and then sometimes he's up and down too. But
I think the way that happened had more to do with Zimmer and the way he cultivated, or way he handled that environment, that team, the way in which he handcuffed the offense. I think Zimmer, that culture. I think Diggs has some issues, but I think Diggs is the kind of person, sees the truth for the truth and will say it. When we say, well, it's probably better for you to be a little bit more diplomatic, he didn't want to be diplomatic. And Thielen did the same thing. Thielen was calling people out too, and nobody got mad about Thielen doing it, only when Diggs was complaining about this stuff. I think that comes back to Zimmer and the way he handled it. I think things will be handled by McDermott and folks in Buffalo in a different way. And I do think the issues in Minnesota might still rear its ugly head. I think the only savior is exactly what you said, Kubiak. Because he's been a head coach, I think he's a buffer, and he has a trust. Zimmer has a trust. I think that might be the way to get past it, because I think he brings something to the coach's room with respect. But I think Diggs is the way that happened had a lot to do with all the heartache they had losing him in Minnesota on some crazy stuff as well, and what he did to try to get it over the top. You know, I think he felt like the offense needed to get a little bit more love in terms of being opened up, and I think that was part of his ego. But I agree with you in Buffalo. He gonna need some transitioning. I'm thinking that might happen. I think he's had some time with all this stuff. I think in getting used to his teammates. I think Buffalo's going to be interesting. He's not going to be the problem. I just don't know if they've done enough to develop the quarterback position to be able to do it. The one reprieve they get is that you don't have Tom Brady over New England. So, you still got Bill Belichick to deal with. But they play well when they went after them when they had Brady last year. They played them tough.
You might have a healthy Cam Newton from the rumors there.
Well, we'll see how that goes.
Vegas thinks he's going there.
Well, hey, I'm going to tell you this.
That's what I'd show right now.
A lot to talk about if that happens as we start the season start to unfold and we get a clear direction on what we're going to happen with the season. But if the rest of our conversation with NFL football is going to be anything like this, we're going to have some good ones. We didn't even get near predictions. We haven't unpacked a lot of this, so I can't wait until we get to close to our normal. In August, we start to break down each of the divisions. This is going to be a good conversation, y'all. It's been good.
I say Chiefs Saints. I got my prediction for the Super Bowl already. So
we going to hold that.
In Tampa.
So you gonna hold that till we get there. We hold that till we get there. Well, this is the completion of the cipher. It's been a good show. Normally we would have my man Hank here to drop the mic, but I'll have to take that for myself. So we're about to enter the drop the mic segment, and it's going to instead of be with Hank, it's going to be with D. Wills. Look, UFC 249 is complete. And as we open up the conversation, there are times where folks have to lead. They have to look at conditions, look at everything, and then make a decision. And if anyone knows Dana White, he is someone that chooses a route and goes that, and that's his way of leadership. And he faced a lot of criticism. And, in a capitalist society, folks will link everything to money, which it's always, we're not going to be fronting here. There's something linked to money. But there's also, in times like this, we're a nation that has been resilient. And the best symbolism of our resiliency has been the world of sports. And to watch the way the UFC navigated this, to produce what they did last night was amazing. But to watch Dana pivot from an announcement of a retirement that most of the mixed martial arts world by surprise, and then already pivot and name one of the contenders for the belt, just demonstrated his ability to always capture the moment. Like he doesn't miss anything. And we've been blessed in our society to have folks who have been showing that kind of leadership on our front lines, in the hospitals, in our corporate organizations who have turned to being philanthropists and driving and supporting food banks and to doing things for local communities, to the everyday neighbor, just organizing something for the neighborhood to get people going. But those acts of leadership are what's important for us right now, that in the face of what we face in the pandemic, that there's still this silver lining that life should go on. And last night, UFC staked a claim. Everybody else will be following their lead from here on out. But they took the first step, and as someone who had a chance to watch it, I thoroughly enjoyed it. So hats off to you, Dana White, and the UFC for putting together a great event. And we look forward to finding other ways to occupy our spirit and time. But at the final end, we just appreciate your leadership. Until next time, this is Rsg One Mic. On behalf of my man Hank Hammer and Darnell Kirkland Jr., we want to say peace. Until next time.
Log Talk Radio.
This thing right here is for my peoples in the streets.
Yes. Today,
Log Talk Radio.
this show, this One Mic.